On Wednesday, a shocking development. Police arrested a popular singer on child pornography charges. NBC's Jim Avila has the details.
But first, I know it starts inside.
The hottest rhythm and blues singer in America, R. Kelly, the man Vibe magazine called the new millennium Marvin Gaye, now in handcuffs, arrested in Florida and charged in Chicago with 21 heinous sex crimes against an underage girl.
Kelly, do you have anything to say? Right now, guys.
The key evidence, say police, a videotape made by the singer himself.
FBI forensics experts from Quantico have closely examined the tape. They tell us it's authentic.
Police say the 40-minute tape, which first surfaced 5 months ago, was recorded inside Kelly's house on this Chicago street. He has since moved to this suburban mansion. The video already screened by the grand jury that returned a 3-page indictment accusing Kelly of, among other things, soliciting, taping, and performing sexual acts with a 14-year-old. Kelly's attorney says it's not him on the video, and the girl in question will back him up.
This charge, in fact, under this case, cannot be proven.
Which Kelly sang at the Winter Olympics. Even then, Kelly was proclaiming innocence and blaming his enemies for setting him up.
It upsets me really bad, you know what I'm saying, because, first of all, I'm not aware of anything like that, and for people, unknown people, to make those statements against me is ridiculous.
After yesterday's arrest, Kelly released this statement, quote, "I have complete faith in our system of justice, and I am confident that when all the facts come out, people will see that I'm no criminal." The tape was first made public by the Chicago Sun-Times, which turned it over to authorities investigating complaints of teen sex against Kelly. Music reporter Jim DeRogatis says he confirmed that it was Kelly on the tape by showing it to the 14-year-old's aunt.
Probably one of the worst things I've ever had to do as a reporter is sit with this woman and say, look, I don't want to show you this, but we need to make sure this girl is who we think this girl is.
Now a jury must decide if the man who sold 24 million records also made one videotape that could end his career.
People on the internet saying the mom's story didn't match the daughter's story. Yes, it does. The main details, which are R. Kelly started an inappropriate relationship with her child while she was underage. And that was her daughter on tape with R. Kelly. And at the time, she was underage. That's the only thing that matters. Everybody that get on the stand gonna be nervous because they got to face them demons. All of them have been sitting on secrets for years. God shining light on this case again for a reason. Because it needed to be done. Regardless of how it was exposed, who exposed it, and why it was exposed, it needed to be exposed.
But even as millions of fans sang along to his music and danced along with the videos, few, if any, were aware that Chicago police were looking into a more unseemly side of the singer's life, probing numerous allegations of an illegal sexual relationship with an underage girl, his goddaughter. Some in the music industry say R. Kelly's taste for young girls has long been an open secret.
Rumblings of he and girls not of age have been around for quite some time.
Still, without any proof, police never charged R. Kelly with a crime. But then, someone delivered a shocking videotape to a reporter at the Chicago Sun-Times. The tape featured a man who appeared to be R. Kelly engaging in sex acts with what appeared to be the very same girl at the center of those investigations.
The stuff that's going on in the tape, you know, not to romanticize it, not to sensationalize it, it's horrifying. It's not healthy sexual relations.
For authorities, who had previously dropped the complaints against Kelly due to lack of evidence, the videotape now offered the proof they had been looking for, or so it seemed.
Supposedly the victim in this case is saying that it's not her. So they're supposed to just believe a videotape as opposed to the person live there in court.
To combat that problem, expect prosecutors to call child sexual assault experts to the stand.
It's very common for victims to have denied their victimization. Denial is a huge part of the picture. Perhaps some of the child sexual assault experts are being called to testify about the denial and how common it is.
Denial may be a common theme at the R. Kelly trial, where some say the defendant himself could make or break his own case.
One would probably argue that as a charismatic individual who is probably pretty persuasive, we'd like to see him take the stand. Certainly the jurors would like to see him take the stand, and especially to hear him say, "That's not me," in the video.
Prosecutors, of course, contend that it's most definitely Kelly in the videotape, and furthermore, that this is no isolated incident. They hope to prove that by establishing what they say is a pattern of behavior. Kelly immediately denied he was the man on the tape.
I'm not a guy that would do this, what people are saying.
But at the same time that R. Kelly was issuing his denial, the X-rated tape was bootlegged and sold on street corners around the country. It even showed up on the shelves of HMV for a day. Some swiftly rendered their own verdict about the tape.
35 minutes of disgustingness. The girl looked no more than 14 years old. The image that I saw was a man that looked, legally speaking, I've got to be careful, looked like R. Kelly.
But the court of public opinion isn't the court of law. In a criminal trial, nothing is assumed to be obvious, and everything must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. In the child pornography case against R. Kelly, lawyers will have to prove that the tape is what it appears to be. Prosecutors must leave no doubt R. Kelly is the man on the tape. The girl is underage, and the tape is authentic. These three facts are crucial, and each has been contested by Kelly and his lawyers, beginning with the tape itself. In this interview 6 years ago, Kelly claimed the tape was a complete fiction, invented by special effects.
I'm not a professional in that area. I do know this. It's not me. And if it's gotten me to this point, sitting in this chair talking to you about this, then it's obvious somebody that is real good at doctoring or whatever they did.
In this media age, the great technology that lets us do fabulous things in movies and music videos makes the prosecution's case far more difficult.
Kelly's lawyers have claimed specifically that their client's image was superimposed on the video, a practice said to be common in pornography. But that claim has already been challenged by the FBI, according to Chicago police.
FBI forensics experts from Quantico have closely examined the tape. They tell us it's authentic.
Jane details her sexual relationship with Kelly that all started when she was just 14, including sex acts Kelly recorded and the expectation that she keep it all quiet.
She's not using her real name, and you can see her face was not drawn in court, but Jane, taking the stand for the first time, made a pivotal record with her testimony. Now 37, she said her relationship with R. Kelly started at 12 or 13, introduced by her Aunt Stephanie, a musician working with Kelly at the time. Jane, a singer in a group then, said her relationship with Kelly changed within weeks of asking Kelly to become her godfather, helping with her music career, becoming sexual. She said it started with phone sex, Kelly asking her about her underwear, turning physical when she was 14. Kelly would give her alcohol. She said it helped loosen her up, describing pornographic videos he would play during this, featuring people she knew, eventually engaging in group sex acts with underage friends she said Kelly encouraged her to bring around. Testifying the physical relationship continued and she lost her virginity to Kelly at the age of 15. She said she had sex with Kelly an uncountable number of times, hundreds. Many of those acts recorded by Kelly, sex tapes Jane said she wasn't comfortable with. Where were her parents during all of this? Jane said once she told them R. Kelly was her godfather working on her music with her, they were comfortable with her being at his studio. Kelly was married at the time, and Jane said oftentimes her parents thought she was at home with them, not at the studio alone with Kelly. But it didn't stay that way. Later in her testimony, Jane detailed being forced by Kelly to tell her parents about their sexual relationship, claiming he confirmed a sex tape of theirs had been leaked and was about to be public. She said Kelly told her he wanted her parents on his team. Detailing a meeting arranged with Kelly and her parents at an Oak Park hotel, she described her father's response as hysterical, saying she vividly remembers her father telling Kelly, "I can't help you. I can't help you."
Now, ultimately, prosecutors say that Jane and her parents were pressured and paid off to lie, threatened by the singer and his team.
Be careful what you do to me.
A former music protege of Kelly, Sparkle has publicly declared that the girl in the video is her young niece. Sparkle says her niece, who's now around 24, was just 14 at the time the tape was made.
She was 14. Maybe like 14 and a half, as you know, the young kids may say.
Sure.
She was definitely that age. If the defense is smart, they'll try and discredit this woman, say anybody that's coming forward is just out to smear R. Kelly.
But Sparkle's words aren't the only evidence available to prosecutors. The singer also identified her niece as an aspiring rapper.
Darling, darling, stand by me.
MTV News uncovered this music video featuring the girl, and she does appear to be quite young. The video was reportedly produced around the same time as the alleged sex tape, a connection prosecutors may use in their attempt to prove the girl was a minor. The sex tape, too, can offer clues to the girl's age. A Backstreet Boys track released in 1998 can be heard playing in the background, as can the Spice Girls' Too Much, a single from earlier that same year. Potentially more telling, though, is the sound of a commercial for a company that went out of business in 2000. A detail that could help the DA more precisely pinpoint when the video was made.
God shining light on this case again for a reason. Whatever's in the dark will come to light. There was a crime committed against a child. She was a child then. When the incident took place, she was a minor. Not sure why that's so hard for a lot of you adults to comprehend. When you say, where are the minors? They all grown up now. No one stays a kid forever. But I get it. This is the mindset of the type of people that are defending this. God shedding light on this for a reason. He's trying to show R. Kelly the error of his ways. That's what this is. R. Kelly is not innocent. No one is. Everybody have a connection because they were directly involved. They all participated in a crime committed against a then minor. Their connection is obstruction of justice. For those that cannot comprehend that, there it is.
The entire testimony today revolving around child pornography tapes and payoffs. The man testifying, Charles Freeman, was granted an immunity deal by the government to go on the record. He not only knew about the nature of the tapes he was paid to retrieve and recover, but made copies of them himself to be sure he'd be paid. And he kept those copies for years. Charles Freeman testified he started working with R. Kelly in the 90s, doing merchandising for Kelly's concert tours. He said the two became friends. A relationship that changed when he says Kelly called him in 2001, telling him he wanted him to recover some tapes. Ultimately, Freeman said he verbally negotiated $1 million payout in exchange for the original tape, but only $140,000 in a written contract. Freeman says within days he traveled to Atlanta to an address provided by Kelly's team with two men. Testifying, a young lady came to the door. He told her he was there to recover the expletive tapes you stole from Robert Kelly. She put her hands up and pointed him in the right direction. He left with 3 tapes. Only one was a tape involving Kelly. He then went to a Walmart and purchased a VCR recorder and blank tapes, making copies because he didn't trust Kelly's team to pay him. Freeman testified observing in the tape he recovered and copied Kelly having sex with a young girl, urinating on her, and putting lotion on her face. He said you can hear both Kelly and the girl refer to her body parts as 14 years old. He never called the police. Prosecutors asked why. At one point, he said, quote, because the police wasn't going to pay me $1 million. In 2019, Freeman turned the copies over to his attorney after an attorney reached him about holding child porn for Robert Kelly. and that's what led to his involvement in this trial. Now, Freeman's demands for all of the money owed continued for years. He was paid in installments all the way up to and after the 2008 trial where Kelly was acquitted. We expect cross-examination to start tomorrow morning. Defense attorneys will question Freeman in the testimony we heard today, and it could get heated. In their opening statements, they called him a con man and an extortionist.
There should be no immunity for nobody. Everybody that was directly involved who helped R. Kelly get away with committing a crime against a minor should be arrested. Period.
Lisa Van Allen not only involved in the child pornography charges in this case, but also the obstruction of justice charges, since she took a tape from Kelly of her and an underage girl and ultimately was paid by his team to get that tape back. Van Allen taking the stand in day 9 of the trial, testifying on the sexual contact she had with Kelly and an underage girl, Jane, often getting emotional, detailing ultimately moving to Chicago from Atlanta to be with him. That's when she says Kelly brought Jane into their sexual relationship, starting in 1998. Lisa was 18 at the time. She said Kelly told her Jane was 16 and his neighbor. The three had sex. She says Kelly recorded in different parts of his house. Van Allen later detailing and questioning a moment years later that had an effect on her when Jane told her, quote, that she would get a PT Cruiser on her 16th birthday. She says it was 2 years after their first threesome, and it's when she first realized she was 14. She had to be 14. Van Allen said she never wanted to take part in the threesomes, but once she learned Jane's real age, she says it stopped. Van Allen later took a tape of the three of them from Kelly and sent it out of state, getting emotional again later in testimony when speaking about efforts she was paid for by Kelly's team to get that tape back. She said Kelly's former manager said, "They should have murked me from the beginning," crying as she later said, "I never knew they were thinking about killing me." Defense attorneys drilling into discrepancies in what Van Allen has said on the record, under oath, and even on the docu-series Surviving R. Kelly, at times questioning if the emotion she showed during her testimony was real.
That girl knows she was wrong. Her mom knows that her and her husband was wrong. Plus, the mom is embarrassed. She knows her and her husband failed their daughter.
This woman is going by Susan, and she's the mother of the pivotal witness in this case. That's Jane. She says she first met R. Kelly through her sister, Stephanie, who was a musician working with Kelly at the time. Susan says she met Kelly at a concert her daughter Jane was performing at, just 14 years old at that time. That's when Jane first met Kelly, too, introduced by her sister Stephanie, Jane's aunt, who again was working with Kelly back then. The next time Susan met Kelly, at the recording studio when the family went to support Stephanie. Shortly after that, she says she learned her daughter had asked R. Kelly to be her godfather. When asked by prosecutors how she felt about that, Susan said she felt kind of strange. Why? She said because she knew her sister Stephanie told Jane to ask Kelly. Jane testified that it was shortly after she asked Kelly to be her godfather, their relationship became sexual. When asked by prosecutors about how things changed after her daughter asked Kelly to be her godfather, Susan says she started going to Kelly's house a lot with his wife and kids, mostly on the weekends. When asked what she believed Jane was doing at the house with Kelly, Susan said movies, shopping, hanging out with the kids. Earlier today, we also heard testimony from a special agent with the IRS who detailed about $79,000 in payments made to Susan and her late husband, Brandon, on behalf of Kelly's companies.
They've been sitting on these demons for over 2 decades. That's what they're facing. They should be nervous. They're supposed to be. If they are not nervous, that'll be a problem. That'll be even scarier. Because they done already sold their souls and their children. I don't know who worse. the parents, the girls, R. Kelly, everybody who helped him cover up the crime, or the people that's defending this? Because this is wrong. When R. Kelly violated that girl, she was a minor then. She was a minor when the incident took place. She was a minor when R. Kelly began his inappropriate behavior with her. She was a minor. When everybody was trying to cover up the crime, she was a minor. All of this was orchestrated on behalf of R. Kelly. R. Kelly was the adult, regardless if that girl laid with him. The fact of the matter is, he was wrong. He violated her. She was a minor when the incident took place. And when the jury goes to that room to deliberate, that's what's going to be on the table. She has admitted that that was her on tape with R. Kelly. And at the time, she was a minor. She was underage. Nothing else matters.
Last week, Jane testified it was shortly after she asked Kelly to be her godfather, their relationship became sexual. Susan said her daughter started going to Kelly's house a lot with his wife and kids, mostly on the weekends. When asked what she believed Jane was doing at the house, Susan said movies, shopping, hanging out with the kids. Prosecutors say Jane and her parents were paid and threatened by Kelly and his team so they wouldn't testify at the 2008 trial. Susan spoke to those threats, detailing the meeting arranged in Oak Park, where she says she first learned of her daughter's sexual relationship with the singer about 2 weeks after the Department of Children and Family Services reached them. Susan said at that meeting, Kelly asked her and her husband, "Are you with us or are you not?" and felt that meant they were going to harm us, saying she felt both fearful and frightened. They were sent out of the country by Kelly and his team right after that meeting. When asked about the grand jury she lied to after getting back from that trip, Susan admitted she did not identify her daughter Jane in photos and videos shown to the grand jury, even though she knew it was her, but did identify R. Kelly. In cross-examination, Kelly's lead attorney asked Susan about a number of visits she made alone to Kelly's recording studio after meeting him, directly asking her about an intimate relationship she had with Kelly. Susan denied that intimate relationship and said she was making those visits to talk about business and get advice from Kelly.
FBI forensics experts from Quantico have closely examined the tape. They tell us it's authentic.
We did here, we looked very closely and carefully at the evidence that related to the videotape that is at the heart of this case. That was the focus. Obviously, the investigation continues, and if other things surface where the evidence is there to support charges, we'll do that as well.
You said in a news conference Wednesday that you want this case, the filing of these charges, to send a message. Who do you want that message to be sent to, and why do you think it needs to be sent?
Well, I think it's a message from the entire community. As I said before, we have a number of laws that are designed to protect the children of our communities. We have to enforce them. The message here is that if you are going to think about being involved with young children and prey upon them, that the law is going to be there. Where the evidence is available, we're going to prosecute you and we're going to seek the harshest penalties.
We're dealing with criminals. These are not professional criminals. They're petty, low-life criminals. That's why this case has come full circle again. This ain't nothing but God, baby. Trying to show R. Kelly the error of his ways. That's what this is. God said, I'm sick of this. We're going to do this over. And this time, we're going to get it right. That's what this is. So y'all can sit online and talk about, oh, they took the money. I said it too. They did. They took the money. They took the gifts. But that does not take away from the fact that he violated a child. That was R. Kelly on tape with that girl, and at the time, she was underage. What he did to her was a crime, and how he carried it was a crime. He covered the crime up, and he had a lot of people to assist him. Darren McDavid, talking about he was unaware that the girl in question was underage. What? Why y'all going out y'all way to get the tape back? Stop it. And this is sad. It's so sad. It's pathetic because people that have children should be very, very afraid. The ones that really love their children unconditionally, because these are the type of people that we have in our society amongst us. These people that'll turn a blind eye. These people that'll take money to cover up a crime that was committed on a kid, and people who sit online and defend it. This is sick. R. Kelly has a problem, but he don't think he has a problem. And that makes it worse.